ads are useful for their purpose, but they are no substitute for brains.
All right, here we go.
I have to say, well done, Ray. Well done. Well played, my adversary. Well played.
Phoenix isn't gay, but if he was, he'd pick Fremo.
Oh, yeah, he'd be living down there with you in the bunker, man. Woo!
Once you go free, you always do the Z.
Like one day of not going to Duncan, and you could get a controller, a new Xbox, possibly even a cord.
And now here's the hosts of the longest running podcast in Rhode Island.
Welcome to BGFG, episode 501. I am your host, Chris Phoenix. Unfortunately, Fremo Z could not be here this week. He's MIA right now. So, yeah, I hope he's okay. Knowing him, he's in the woods. So, hunting or something. So this week we took a break last week after our 500th episode, which thank you very much for everybody that downloaded and listened. We got a lot of good feedback from it. A lot of people said they liked it and they want to see more of that. I don't know if we are. Most likely we will. But this week, back to the same old news and other BS. So let's get right into the news.
BGFG News. You heard it here third.
So first up this week, the Justice Department asked federal court to unseal Epstein grand jury testimony. So the Justice Department wants the files unsealed. They also want the files of Epstein's cohort, Giselle Maxwell, which I think is really the more interesting of the two because she can make a lot more of the connections. While Epstein was there, Giselle apparently was the one that maneuvered everything and set up the deals in a lot of ways. So she probably has a bigger list, I would dare say. She's already been convicted of helping Epstein sex traffic, and she's currently serving 20 years. So unsealing documents is very difficult. A grand jury sealed document is common to protect the innocent people and the people that testified, names and stuff like that. And since this is sex trafficking minors, it's to protect the minors mostly. But the important thing is the list of names. Some say there has been a list. Some say there hasn't been a list. I think there's a list of people that at least were in contact over this whole investigation. Some have come out and they're basically people that they were in the same place as Epstein, but they never actually interacted with him on that level. They were just in the same ballroom or at the same dinner party or things like that. But there's other people on this list that may have done a little bit more. So that's what the question is, and that's what everybody wants to see. The Justice Department has said that it would happily redact any names that need to be protected. But they had also said in the past that there was no client list and that they have never seen evidence of Epstein blackmailing prominent individuals at all. So it's very interesting how the Justice Department is kind of flip-flopping on some of these things. But there is testimony that may list a few prominent individuals that were involved. So it's going to be interesting to see that play out because it's, again, one of those things where, I don't know, a list of names. Of course, Trump is supposed to be involved. There's videos circulating all around of him actually being with Jeffrey Epstein. But at the same time, there's a lot of other people. Again, it's going to be up to the courts to decide, but I don't like the fact that they're flip-flopping on everything. Just put it out there. He said he wasn't afraid of it, so let's see what happens. So let's moving on to the wonderful, scary world of AI. So Meta has refused to sign... Meta's refused to sign the European Union's Code of Practice for its AI Act. Meta's Chief of Global Affairs, Joel Kaplan, said that they have reviewed the act and said that they may have legal concerns for developers. Now, Meta, as you well, Quest and all the other social media platforms that they own, the fact that they're kind of worried about anything is concerning. Especially when it comes to AI. AI is concerning as it is, and this is not helping. The EU's Code of Practice aims to help companies implement processes and systems to regulate AI. Among other things, the code does require companies to provide regular update documentation about their AI tools and service and what they're doing with them. It also bans developers from training AI using pirated material, which makes sense. I mean, nobody wants their pirated material used with the AI, though I'm not sure. I guess in the music sense and picture, like paintings and things and art, I think that's where most of that will come in, where it's pirated material. It goes on to comply with content owners' requests not to use their work in their data sets. So essentially, a lot of times, as we well know, we've discussed on the show that AI usually scrapes social media. AI scrapes, and a lot of the social media people are fighting back and saying, "Look, this is the stuff that I've worked on. It's just no different than people that are in art, no different than people that work as actors, actresses, voiceover content. AI is a problem for them in their livelihood, and that's a problem. But that Chief Kaplan claimed that the new law will throttle the development of AI models, though I don't see how. But the law has good points, like not using cognitive behavior manipulation, big social scoring, biometrics, facial recognition. Those are all things that AI could possibly use to do other things, and not using domains like education or employment sites where you have pictures and information about individuals that work there. And the education domain, that goes without saying. Shouldn't be using that at all to scrape for AI. And Meta's not the only one that's behind this. So don't think it's just Facebook jumping all over and Zuckerberg. We also have Microsoft and Alphabet, which is Google, also not liking this law. So I'm wondering what they're all worried about. Uh, AI is just such a slippery slope right now, and there's a lot of questions that need answered. And remember in the past when we talked about on the show about carbon credit scams? So, carbon credit, in a nutshell, is when a company uses a lot of fuels and emits a lot of harmful things into the air, for lack of a better term. Now, the carbon credit thing came about. I want to say it was Dole that did, I don't even remember exactly who it was, um, but it was a push to have all these companies have assigned carbon credits for the size of the company. And those carbon credits were to be used to pay off their carbon debt. So if you didn't have a lot of carbon credits, you couldn't go and make as many cars as you wanted. Big steel. They couldn't make as much metal as they wanted because that'd stay below that threshold of carbon credits, or else be fined dramatically when they went over. And then you had other companies that would go really green and didn't have a lot of carbon emissions. So you had a company, and the best example I can give is a company like, I don't know, Big Steel, or in this case, Microsoft, what we're about to talk about, and Apple. Apple tries to be extremely green. So say if they're awarded 10,000 carbon credits, Microsoft wanted to build more and more factories and fabs and stuff. They turn around and um, they're assigned like the same 10,000 carbon credits. Well, their yearly exceeds to like 12,000 carbon credits. That's 2,000 over. That's going to cost them a bunch of money. So they turn to another company that's extremely green, like Apple, who was assigned 10,000, but only uses maybe 5,000. What Microsoft then does is bargain and get and buy carbon credits from Apple for, again, a large amount of money. It's business, after all. We're talking millions of dollars. And then they take those carbon credits. Now they have 12,000 carbon credits, and they're using 12,000 carbon credits. So again, it's a wash, but they bought their way to be cleaner. They're not actually cleaner. This is why it's called a carbon credit scam. Well, Microsoft is cheating the system yet again. Microsoft is building a boatload of data centers as fast as they can in fab building, and it's killing their carbon data sheet. So in 2020, in 2020, Microsoft announced that they would remove more carbon from the atmosphere than they generate by 2030. And guess what? In typical Microsoft fashion, they've been purchasing as many carbon credits as they can get their hands on. They just bought 4.9 metric tons of credits from Volta Deep. Volta Deep is a company that operates like a reverse oil company. It collects solid waste like sewage, manure, paper sludge, things like that, and it makes it into a slurry, which they then injects into porous rocks deep underground. kind of like, the fracking. That's a whole nother can of worms, injecting this into the deep underground. But Vaulted Deep has won awards for removing 18,000 metric tons of carbon credits just last year alone. You might be wondering what Microsoft did for carbon last year. They generated 14.9 metric tons worth. So they're not doing great. And instead of fixing the problem, instead Microsoft just invested in carbon removal companies to offset their usage, because then they can take those carbon credits that they're getting from the companies they already own and utilize them for other parts of the company. So think of it like you have a paint division, you have an HR division, they all and a manufacturing division. They all use carbon credits, all separately assigned because they're all different companies. It's just one person owns them, but they're different companies. The manufacturing side blows through their carbon credits. So what they do is they borrow it from HR because HR doesn't use any at all. That gives them, see what I'm saying? It's just a never-ending cycle, and nothing ever gets cleaner. It's just a joke. Yeah, this is big business. This is big business. It's crazy. I don't understand why we even bother with carbon credit. It's a joke. And the current administration is not going to talk about it at all. All right, let's end the news on something on a little high note this week. I don't know if you heard about the KissCam heard around the world. If you haven't and you're not on social media, let me educate you a bit. Now, for the listeners of the podcast, love everybody that does that. This is one of those times where you might want to watch the video and maybe fast forward like 11 minutes or so, because the video is kind of where this is going to pay off in a lot of ways. So, recently, Coldplay played in Boston. One of the things that the band does is they do a KissCam every once in a while. So, earlier this week, there was a viral TikTok video of the Jumbotron where it appeared to show two people on the KissCam. Mind you, we got over 9 million views, so everybody saw this. One of these people is the CEO of Astronomer, Andy Byron. Astronomer is a company that uses, it's a very large company, actually, to manage Apache workflows. Apache is like a back-end database. It manages the workflows, very worth a lot of money. Guy's probably a millionaire, most likely. The other person in the KissCam is the head of HR for the same company, Kristen Cabot. They're both married to different people. Needless to say, it was just hilarious. When the picture was taken, they were in an embrace. Like he was behind her with his arms around her. Suddenly, when they realized they were on camera, she blocked her face. He ducked down like what the hell are you thinking this is going to work? And then she turned and tried to duck down. When the video went viral, Andy's wife, when people started looking it up on social media, Andy's wife had already changed back to her maiden name on Facebook. And Saturday morning, and mind you, this just happened a couple of days ago. Saturday morning, Andy and Kristen had both resigned from the company. Now, mind you, he's the CEO and co-founder, so that's interesting. And the memes didn't disappoint. And let me go to the memes now. First, I have the actual picture of the original KissCam, which is hilarious. And then this is a Twitter post of Coldplay. Somebody saying Coldplay hasn't made a single in years, and now they made two. Next thing is them as the streaming artwork, the 18th century or 17th century artwork. Do you know the streaming man? Them. Twitter again said, shout out to Coldplay for bringing the entire internet together for a day, which is true. This one is the Simpsons bushes with them in it. And then you have the Lego My First Affair set. Twitter commentator, another Twitter person said, I divorced my husband for just going to a Coldplay concert, which I thought was funny. You got Fozzie and Miss Piggy. You got Luigi and Princess. You got Skeletor and He-Man. Even Coldplay chimed in on their Twitter. They said, at our next show, we will introduce a camera-free section for people with their side pieces. And then the memes just kept going and going. It was great. You got Diddy and Bieber. You got Burger King and Ronald McDonald. You wrestling fans, you got Goldberg and Bret Hart. You got Edge and Lita, which is the whole, cheated on Matt Hardy thing. One of my favorites is this one. This is Tiger King and Carol Baskins, which is so good. It's not even funny. You got Harry Potter and Hermione. Of course, you got Trump and Epstein. And then you got, here's another good one. This one's Dwayne The Rock Johnson and Vin Diesel. You got Obi-Wan and Padme. There's another good one. Wish Freemo was here for this one. You got Richard Gere and a gerbil. So wrong. You got Trump and Elon, of course. Then to wrap up this segment, I wanted to show you what Tide, their Twitter, Tide said, we can't clean this up. So I'm sure if you haven't seen it, you're going to see it. And the only person I can think of that hasn't seen anything like this is Primo, because he's not on any social media at all. But yeah, it was fun, and it ruined two people's lives, and it is what it is. I just the internet sometimes just pays off in a lot of ways. All right, let's get to this week's music. This week's music is new music for the Black Keys, their upcoming album No Rain, No Flowers, and this is their song On Repeat. We'll catch you on the other side for some stick style. Oh, there you have it. Welcome back. That's a great tune from Black Keys, On Repeat, from their new album. Go get it when it drops. We are, well, I am drinking a Modelo Especial because it's my favorite summer beer. I'm going to try something different probably next week. But this one's in the fridge and it is delightful and so good. Cheers. All right, let's get into this week's Six Style.
Gaming.
So first up this week, surprising absolutely no one at all, Microsoft will no longer be offering movies and TV shows on the Xbox. The app was introduced in 2012 as Xbox Video. It was never a standard in any way, shape, or form. I do own a couple of videos on it because sometimes when I'm working in the studio or something, I don't want to open up anything. I don't feel like YouTube. So I actually have, I think, two or three Godzilla movies on there that I watch from time to time. But again, nobody's surprised. Nobody was using it as that. PlayStation used to have PlayStation View, I think it was, and they had videos. Both companies at one point wanted to be, both Sony and their PlayStation and Microsoft and their Xbox wanted to be your entertainment center. And now they can achieve that, but it's just allowing the API for apps from these other companies like Netflix and Hulu. So it's really not a media center anymore. That concept has kind of died off. Their focus is now on streaming games, and it's a good focus. Fremont and I've talked about it with everybody before, and it is definitely something that they're pushing hard. Their handheld, as we told you before on the show, their handheld should be available around Christmas time, and that handheld is nothing more than the Asus ROG, and it's just an interface, just a piece of software, very similar to the Xbox app that you have on your PC. And there's been a lot of things that you can do with it. You had games that were available on both. If you had Game Pass Ultimate, there were games that were available on both the PC as well as the Xbox. And you could download those onto your PC if you own them or if they were on part of Game Pass. The focus is now more on the streaming. And as we've said on the show before, that is the wave of the future. You can play that streaming on anything, whether it's a Mac, Android, iOS, PC, one of the consoles. You can utilize it on there. And now we're seeing that start to come to fruition with the Asus ROG Ally. That's going to basically be an interface. You could back out of that interface and just run the Windows that's on it. Or you can maybe back out of the interface and open up Ubisoft Connect or EA Play or any one of those other supported launchers or platforms. So their focus being on streaming, they're moving ahead to world gaming domination. So now with the latest update, you can stream your Xbox console games on the PC. So say if they have a game that you have on your console in the living room and you're on your laptop away on vacation or at work, or if you just have a PC in the house that you'd rather play on, you can now stream those games that you have on your console, whether they're available or not. If they're available, of course, you download them on your PC and have at it. But now there's an extra section. You can play on the PC. You can stream the games that are on your Xbox only. And this goes for any one of the Xbox apps. So it's on iOS, it's on Android. You need to be a Game Pass Ultimate member. And that it's going to include console-only games. So what you do is you open the Xbox app, you head to Cloud Gaming, then look for Stream Your Own Game. And that's going to give you a list of all the games. They even have a section just for keyboard and mouse players. So they're really moving forward with that whole idea. I did notice that when I checked it, there was a lot of games. Like, for instance, when my son-in-law was staying with us for a little bit, he had downloaded NBA 2K, one of the 2K games. That was listed there. I don't play that. There's a bunch of games. I don't know if you can curate it yourself yet, because there was a bunch of games that I've played and tested that I have no intention of ever playing again. They just didn't appeal to me for whatever reason. So it's quite possible, and hopefully that they'll start doing that. But they are coming on strong. They're going to be doing nothing but streaming. So get ready, everybody. The console wars are not only over, but you're not going to have a console too much longer, really. And also, by the way, we like to be equal here in the show, which I've been told that we're not, that we don't give enough time. We give plenty of time to PlayStation. We just bitch about it because it has the potential to be great, and it's not. We've been told that we don't give any love to Nintendo. Fremo and I have both grown out of Nintendo, for lack of a better. It's still We still completely appreciate the platform. We completely appreciate the games that are game exclusives for them, because they're phenomenal games. Who doesn't remember playing Mario? It's not like we've never played any of those games. It's just I have no need to get one of those. A lot of these games like Pokemon, Final Fantasy, even the Mario stuff just doesn't interest me anymore at all. So it's still a good platform, good game. So in fairness, I want to show you, for all the popularity that Pokemon is right now, there is some Razor's just released a full set of Pokemon accessories. First up is the Razer Black Widow keyboard for $170 with a bunch of Pokemon on it. Then you have the Razer Kraken headset. Actually, a cool looking headset. I've used the Kraken. It's not a bad headset. $100, and it's got yellow cups, or I should say yellow sides. And then the headband on the top has Pokemon figures on it. You also have the Razer Cobra mouse. Again, great mouse. Not a bad mouse. It's going to be yellow on the back half where your palm is, and the two buttons will have a collage of Pokemon. And if you're wondering what that collage looks like, well, you can see it better on this video on the Razer mouse pad, which is $30. And it's just a bunch of Pokemon. It's really, I don't understand the Pokemon thing. But for those that do like Pokemon, there's a full set of accessories that you can get right now at Razer. Moving on. Here's a little bit of a bummer. We have ups and downs on the show, wins and losses. EA is shaping up to be a double threat gaming company. Not only are they the biggest, but they are the shittiest. We're at a time right now, as heard on the show, where greed is overwhelming everything, where the shareholders are more important than the consumers. And EA is a great example of this among many other companies. Amongst all the layoffs that EA has done, the cancellation of games that EA has done, even games that are pretty much finished and just being polished, the closing of studios through EA that they've acquired. They're also killing franchises like Burnout, Star Wars Jedi's gone, Wing Commander had potential, and you just dropped off on that. Mass Effect, come on. Mass Effect is a phenomenal game with a great following. Grid, a great racing game. Medal of Honor. FIFA, they don't even do FIFA anymore. And now you can add Need for Speed, which kind of pisses me off. Need for Speed 15 was great, and I think that's kind of where they ended with that. Outside of the bad acting, cutscenes, which were tolerable, the game was solid. They had other pieces of Need for Speed that were, in my opinion, solid. Hot Pursuit's phenomenal. Underground, Most Wanted, Carbon, all great racing games with a little bit of a story, which can be annoying sometimes, but you can get through it because the game was good. Hot Pursuit's another one that just stands out. You can still play it on Xbox, and it still has online available. And that game is fun. Either you're a cop or you're a racer, and the single player's great, and the multiplayer's equally great. The Run, Need for Speed The Run was a great game. Sit down, if you like racing games with a little bit of a story, that one has it. EA hasn't made an official statement yet, but employees at Speed Hunters, which is kind of connected to Need for Speed, said that the Need for Speed game franchise is on the shelf. The franchise started in 1994, pumping out more than 20 games. And trust me, if you like cars and you like racing games, just watch videos if you want and maybe play. I like the way I judge a lot of things on cornering. Do I have to brake hard to corner properly because the car could get loose and I can't control it? Do you have a Need for Speed game where you touch the brakes a little bit and you'll swing out and do a controlled drift around a corner? Do you have ones where it's just pure arcade and there's no rhyme or reason to any of the controls, but the game's fun? There's a lot of mobile racing games that are like that. There is a Need for Speed game for everybody in that, in everything I just said. Hot Pursuit is a good example of tap the brake and swing the car out, but their raceways, their tracks, their fake city is so huge and so fast that you can get just epic drifts going. And it's fun whether you're a police officer or you're a racer. It's just a lot of fun. And now, like everything else, EA is just saying, nope, the last one didn't sell a lot, so we're gonna put the franchise on the shelf. Well, maybe if your last Need for Speed game didn't have cartoon elements to it that nobody asked for. It was stupid. It made no sense. Nobody liked it. I know a lot of people that played it that turned that function off or modded it so it wouldn't be on. So it's your own fault, EA, but why stop the franchise? You had hits after hits after hits, a loss. Hit, loss. So 20 games. Man, I don't understand EA, and I don't think we ever will. It's just not going to happen. But moving on, I want to tell you something that did excite me and not make me sad, which is that Switch and PlayStation are getting a game that I really want to try, and it's going to be on the PlayStation because I'm not buying a Switch. Let me take you back to 1980s and a little cartoon you may remember called Danger Mouse. It was the white mouse with the eye patch that was very James Bondish. And in conjunction with the BBC, they will be launching a game in 2026. It's going to be a side scroller with 15 levels. Going to have co-op multiplayer. Even going to have mini games in there and a whole lot of toilet humor. It's going to be available on Switch and PlayStation 5, and I'm looking forward to playing it because I will be playing it. Finally, this week in Stick Style, we're going to talk about more ways that I can spend my money. This one's kind of tough, though. I love, and I've gone on the show and said it before, I love Ghost of Tsushima. And over my shoulder, the other side, if I point this way, is the mask from Ghost of Tsushima. I just thought it was a great game. 10 out of 10. Enough said. Now they're having a kind of a sequel, another game called Ghost of Yohai. And it's getting a special edition PlayStation 5 now. Which is tough because I've already pre-ordered the collector's edition, which I have up on the screen right now, which gives me the new mask, which gives me a bunch of other gimmicks. Love it. Look forward to it. Can't wait. And now they drop on us that there's going to be a special edition PlayStation 5 as well. In fact, there's going to be 2 special edition PlayStation 5s. One is the gold edition and the other one is the black edition. Now, the black edition, think of it like a white side of the PlayStation with the Ghost of Yohai kind of logo, and it's just a lot of cracks in the panel. It'll say a lot of cracks in the panel that are filled with black. And the black edition will only be available on the PlayStation Store, while the gold one, same concept, same plates, just with gold inlays instead of black. The gold one will be available everywhere, but the black one you have to buy on the PlayStation Store itself. The gold edition was inspired by Japanese art form kintsugi, which is repairing items with gold and lacquer. So you've probably seen the concept like that before in armor, and you saw a very similar thing in Star Wars in Kylo Ren's helmet where they fused it back together with red on the inside. The black one is inspired by an art form called sumi-e, which puts black ink on paintings. So I most likely pronounced both of those wrong, and Primo's not here to correct me, so but you get the idea. Supposedly, you can buy the plates separately from the PlayStation Store, so I'm hoping that you can. And of course, you can get the controllers the same way. And the controllers have the same kind of look and feel with the cracked and filled in with either gold or black. All of them are going to be available on October 2nd. And like I said, I'm already pre-ordered the collector's edition. So now I got to worry about trying to get the plates and the son of a... Ugh. More money, son of a bitch. All right, let's move on to this week's tech news. First up is an actual story that Fremo dropped in to the show this week. So police in Spain have started profiling people using their, based on their phone's operating system, especially people using a Google Pixel running Graphene OS. Now, Graphene OS is a super secure operating system. It's an alternative to the Pixel operating system that's currently on the Google Pixel phones, but this one's like super secure. It is really cool, and it's easy to install, and it doesn't compromise any of the phone features where a lot of times when you jailbreak phones and put on different operating systems, it compromises a lot of the features. I know a person that came in to see me at work that had rooted their phone and replaced it with some sort of weird copy around the time that the Avengers came out, some weird copy of like Tony Stark's OS or Jarvis OS, I think it was called. And it just completely fucked up the phone. Just bad. I even tried to reset it and nothing worked well. And I told him, I said, look, I can't do it here, but you're gonna have to find somebody that will flash this phone and put the original OS back on it because you screwed up your phone. But this one doesn't do that. It uses the same exact features that you use. And its big feature is that it locks down parts of Android that make it vulnerable, which is one thing. That's very good because you Android using people are very susceptible to viruses and malware and rootkits and all sorts of nastiness. So, like, to explain it a little bit better, Google touches everything on the phone, including full system access. Google has that on these phones, especially the Pixel, because it's their phone. You can't stop it unless you're using Graphene OS. It makes all the Google apps run in like a sandbox mode, meaning it's separate from the operating system. So you can turn them on and off at leisure, almost like a developer mode, called the sandbox mode. And this goes for almost all the data sharing parts of the phone as well. You can turn them on and off. Instead of all or nothing, you now have control. And one of the best features I thought in this is that they have a duress pin, or I like to call it a panic pin. When you put that in, immediately erases the entire phone and the eSIM. So basically, when the police ask you for your phone, you can give them that, put in the PIN number, and then they're screwed. The phone will erase itself. No more incriminating evidence. Now, many of you, the listeners, might be thinking that this would only be good for people using a phone to do things that are against the law. I don't disagree with you. Having a kill switch in a phone like that just makes, if I was a police officer, that would make me think you're guilty. I don't have any proof now, but you are guilty. But when you take a step back outside of the kill switch pin, the phone itself is very secure, and privacy is privacy. You can go on either end. I give Apple all my information on my phone because I'm okay with that. I think Apple has privacy on lock, and I have control over what I need to have control with. Does Apple know everything I'm doing? Most likely. But I also trust in Apple not to give away any of my information. I can't say that about a bunch of other companies. On the flip side, you have Fremo that uses an Android operating system because he can control it way more. And I can almost guarantee you that if they ever came out, they do have, or anybody sends me email, I know they have a Linux-based phone OS available. But when that does happen to be more popular, I'll probably give it a try, a Linux-based phone. I think it's very interesting. But privacy is privacy. And you're exercising that with this phone. It's your phone. Why do you need to compromise your information just to use your own damn phone? Why do I have to compromise? If I want to search an address, why do I have to compromise my geolocation, the address I'm searching, send it off to AT&T, make sure, like, that's just not right. That's not right at all. You should be able to control your own kind of destiny with your technology. It's just a matter of time before AI takes over and we're all screwed. So might as well have your phone being a little bit private right now. If I had an Android phone, or at least a spare phone that had Android on it, I can guarantee you I would try that Graphene OS. It's supposed to be super easy to install, and if you're a little geeky, the people that are listening that just don't, if you don't understand technology, don't do this. But if you understand technology, you've installed operating systems and maybe installed Linux on a spare computer, yeah, Graphene will be super easy to do. And speaking of Google, Google's Gemini AI waved the white flag recently, which I thought was funny. This was the next AI to go against Atari's chess game. Now, we spoke about it on the show before, where Atari's chess game has been challenged to go against a bunch of AI, and Atari's chess game has beaten them every time, and it never stops making me smile. This 46-year-old chess game is bringing AI to its knees, which is great. And Gemini was talking shit. So in the pregame, it started talking shit, and it said, and I quote, "Not merely a language model, it was more like a modern chess engine that could think of me not as a mere language model, but more like a modern chess engine that could think millions of moves ahead and evaluate endless positions." So it even called other AI engines garbage, right? But after analyzing the other matches, Gemini said, I'm going to cancel the match. Canceling the match is most likely the most time-efficient and sensible decision. So Gemini didn't even want to fuck with the Atari. Not at all. It analyzed the other games and went, nope, no, I'm not even going to start this. It's nope. I concede right now, which I think is hilarious. Moving on in internet news, we still suck at the internet. Let's just face it. We suck at the internet, and a lot of it is because of greed. Fiber optics are laced on almost every main junction in the country right now. And they can handle a lot of speeds, they can handle a lot of traffic, they can do a lot of things. So when we look, we think that our internet is so fast. If Freemo's got an asymmetrical line, which is 1 gigabyte down, 1 gigabyte up. Most other people have, 1 gig down and like 35 megabytes up. And some people have shitty cable as it is, just shitty cable in rural, not rural areas, but cities. Some of that cable is god awful because the infrastructure is too expensive to repair. But then you look overseas, you look at other places, especially Southern Asia, where you got Taiwan and places near there that just have blazing fast, super clean gigabit fiber everywhere. And they just had a successful petabit internet transmission. That's 1 million megs. Granted, it uses a new type of fiber optic cable, but it's about the same size as the regular cable. So our fiber optic cable here can do probably half of that. And we're not using almost any of it. It should be a lot better. Our internet should be a lot better than what we have now. We have gigabit, which is great, but there's few areas and companies that don't do that sort of thing or don't offer those things. Multiple tiers. Your baseline tier should be a gigabyte up and down. That's not inconceivable for the current infrastructure of our networks. It's not inconceivable. The fact that they're offering it, the fact that I know that a year ago, there was a lot of cable companies that were testing their main fiber feeds to offer up, like Freemo can get 25 gig up and down if you want to pay for that. Super expensive. But you can do 1 gig, I think it was 1 gig, 5 gig, 10 gig, 25 gig. And you can pay for it. If you want to pay for it, you pay for it. But it's there. Our base system still is very low. Like there's people that are still saving money and whatnot, or maybe they can't afford anything at all. And the government will subsidize it, but I think gigabit up and down is not hard to maintain. Many people still have like 500 megs down and like 10 megs up. It's enough to get connected, sure, but that's not enough to really do anything else. And we're moving technology so fast with AI, with streaming. You need to give the general public a better baseline, essentially. You need to. And the fact that you have other quote unquote third world countries that are able to maintain gigabit up and down is crazy that we can't. It's the future and we should be jumping onto it. So since Freemo's not here, I figured I'd make fun of him a little bit. And it's a sad day for Mr. Freemo because another company has given up on hydrogen gas. Hydrogen we talked about it on the show before. Freemo is huge into the hydrogen thing. And I see its points. I just don't like the idea of having the Hindenburg underneath my floor panel. Because yes, electric cars can blow up. Yes, electric cars can catch fire and you don't want to be anywhere near them. But hydrogen blows up. Stellantis was a car company that Freemo mentioned that is big on hydrogen, was really pushing to get that out there. But they just recently pulled the plug a week before the production line even started. A week before the production line started, they pulled the whole plug. They're a company that's behind like Chrysler, Citroen, Fiat, Jeep, Peugeot, and they could make a big statement because they have a lot of very small cars that travel in very city-like areas. So it was a wise decision. But mainly the reason why they're pulling the plug is the refueling infrastructure just isn't there. And nobody wants to see another issue like the Ford Edsel, which changed gas all of a sudden. Not every gas station had it. Every car was at the dealership, but, they'd have a tank of gas, like a barrel of gas in the back in the warehouse, a couple of barrels to fill their test vehicles, their loaners. We don't want another issue like that. So we have to have that infrastructure there. It's bad enough. They would sell more electric cars if they had a better infrastructure. Like I've said on the show before, for me, if I bought an electric vehicle, if I'm not plugging it into my house, I have to go 2 towns over to plug it in someplace, and then I got to wait in line with everybody else. So it's, again, until they get that infrastructure out there for electric, there's really no point in getting electric. There really isn't. But hydrogen, I ain't blowing up for nobody. Nope. Nope. All right. Wrapping up this week, hackers apparently can remotely access trains' braking systems. So that's a little bit of a what the hell. This has apparently been a problem for years. It's a problem with the wireless transmission between the back of the train and the front of the train. So for those that don't know, on a train, both the back and the front are both engine. That way they don't have to, turn around they can just go in the other direction when they need to. And they communicate wirelessly. And all of this was installed in the 80s when the technology was still relatively new. They don't have any encryption. They don't have authentication protocols. They just are wireless transmissions going from the back car to the front car. So an attacker can send commands to lock the brakes. Yeah, not good. Now, CISA knows about it and started to fix the vulnerability, but, the current administration decided to dismantle CISA because they felt they weren't needed. Well, here's a good example of why they're needed, because they started to fix the vulnerability and put things in place to get that done. Now they're not there. So this is yet another chance, not to go all super political, but the current administration screwed everybody else. So now riding on trains, you could end up screwed. I mean, I don't think it's going to derail or anything, but you can be stopped cold in the middle of your train run and just sitting there. So that sucks. All right, that's all I have for this week. I wish you the best, and I look forward to seeing Freemo later on, because we're probably going to play Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, because we were playing it a little bit before, and it's still super fun. So if you can, go grab it. I believe it's discounted heavily, and it still works, and it's super fun. All right, that's it for this week. 10's down, show's over.
So you can find more of this garbage at bgfgonline.com. You can also send us an email with your questions or suggestions at bgfgshow@gmail.com. Find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Overcast, Podcast, Castro, Castbox, Podchaser, and YouTube. Thank you for listening.